Dear God, in this moment I reach for the light. When the path seems uncertain and hope feels out of sight, guide me through the darkness, let your love be my guide. In the depths of my struggles, I know you're by my side. When the world fades away, I find myself wandering through memories, tracing the lines of who I used to be. In the quiet night, when the world fades away, I find myself wandering through memories, tracing the lines of who I used to be. A tapestry woven with dreams and scars, each thread a story, each color a part of the journey that shaped me, the battles I fought. In the mirror I see a reflection, a mosaic of moments, a collection of lessons. From laughter to tears, from joy to despair, every heartbeat whispers, you're still standing there. Who I am is a melody, a rhythm of my soul, a symphony of hopes, a tale yet to be told. I'm the echoes.
Hi, thank you for tuning in to the Live Dream Survivors show. Today we're going to be talking about how does exposure to domestic violence abuse affect children. Children who experience with domestic violence abuse or witnessing domestic violence abuse, being around adult intimate abuse, they tend to experience problems with depression, anxiety, and embarrassment. I guess with, like thinking people would know what's going on in their house, or just embarrassed of the actual person, whether it's the mother or the father experiencing the abuse. So they tend to be embarrassed. They tend to blame themselves. Of the situation. Sometimes they act out when they um, see the abuse going on. But according to the Academy of Adolescents or Psychiatric, uh, there are 3 to 10 million children and teens that witness domestic violence abuse each year. The U.S. Department of Justice reports that 25% of kids are exposed to family violence in their lifetime. Also, I could just say, just off my experience, I am a 14-year survivor of domestic violence abuse, and off my experience of seeing my children and how they felt from being in a situation, kids tend to they act out. They tend to stay close to the one that has been abused. Some things that one of my kids used to do, I didn't know it for a while until I would go cleaning up, but he used to sleep with a knife because he was scared that the abuser would come back. I never heard him mention about having any dreams or anything, but in some cases, children that experience and witnessing abuse, they tend to experience they can experience a short-term or long-term effect from witnessing abuse. The short-term effects is called parental anxiety, which is the threat of thinking the next time physical or verbal assault is going to take place in the home. So that they build up a wall. They because they think that, again, as I stated before, they think that the actual abuser is gonna come back. once out of the situation, they think that the abuser is going to come back. And they tend to do things to feel like they're protecting themselves or protecting a loved one that was being abused. Um, Good evening. Um, then for kids that's like preschool age who witness abuse, they they start to suck their thumbs. They do bedwetting. Um, they increase in crying and whining as a result of witnessing abuse. Um, Good evening. Um, and school age kids, they develop being they develop antisocial behaviors, meaning they kind of distance themselves, being to themselves, don't interact with a lot of kids. Um, they struggle with guilt. Some kids think it's their fault that their loved one is experiencing abuse. They try to think of how could they have stopped the situation. Um, and which goes to the next one. They typically take the blame for the abuse when it's not their fault at all. Um, and some of them develop self-esteem issues. Um, for those of you that is just tuning in, my topic today, I'm talking about how does exposure to domestic violence abuse affect children. And I talked about how children experience problems with depression, anxiety, and embarrassment. Um, and I was getting ready to state they form PTSD just like a person that experienced abuse, which is post traumatic stress disorder, which is caused by witnessing or experiencing some type of trauma. Um, and I've noticed that with my kids, even to this day, as young adults, they still experience PTSD, um, anxiety, um, and maybe a little depression at times. Um, but children also um, and sometimes they think that when they are being spared from not being physical abuse, it causes a lot of trauma, and it causes changes to the development of the brain of the child. Um, Sometimes it could cause nightmares, changes in sleep patterns, anger, irritability, and difficulty concentrating. Um, I think one of my kids have had experience. It was hard for him to concentrate at times. Um, we even had an episode when he was a young adult where I had to go to the school because he kept saying how he was going to leave the school one day, because he was just experiencing an out of body moment mentally. And as time go on, as I do different studies about domestic violence abuse, I think back to when he was younger and how I think it affected him more than my other kids, um, because he was close to the abuser. Um, and so I think it affected him a little bit more and how he felt about what happened with me and my kid's father. And even to this day, it's kind of hard for him. But um, I took my kids through counseling to help with some of the triggers from them experiencing or witnessing the abuse. Um, and the physical challenges that develop, like what I just mentioned, mental health, physical health, and well-being. Kids will also complain about headaches, stomach pains, um, just things of that nature, um, and aggressive behavior, which he portrays an aggressive behavior. Um, and Teenagers that witness domestic violence abuse, they tend to act out, just like the what is it? The I wouldn't say preschoolers act out, but the middle school age kids act out. You know, I guess which when kids when anything else unusual happens in the home, the way kids express is by acting out. Sometimes they pretend play and act it out. And that's how you know a lot of things that's going on at home sometimes, because the kids will show you when they pretend play. Um, but with teenagers, they also get in a lot of fights. They skip school, some of them. They also engage in sexual activities, or they try drugs and alcohol. None of my kids that I know of have tried any of those things as a teenager. Um, and sometimes it could go as far as getting in trouble with the law. So I haven't experienced that. Um, but in some people cases, their teens might do a little bit more just to get that attention, I guess. Um, it's different for each group of kids that experience or witness domestic violence abuse. Um, Physical abuse, many children that lives in that environment are likely to become victims to this treat to victims of domestic violence abuse themselves, meaning that either they can grow up to either become an abuser, or they can grow up to experience abuse. Um, or they could become an abusive parent, guardian, like physically, verbally, or emotionally harming their own children. And so, with my experience as a survivor of domestic violence and abuse, and what I have monitored with my own kids, it can get kind of ugly at times, because they argue. Um, you would think in situations like this, kids will just be close with one another and not portray what they seen. But in my situation, it was an incident a couple of months ago, last year sometime, and I'm not gonna go all the way into details because it's not my story to tell. But my son and my daughter experienced fighting, and she felt violated, because as her brother, he's supposed to protect her and not fight her. Um, and so that's one of my kids that portrayed the aggressive behavior, that portrayed the anxiety, PTSD. And I encourage him all the time to get help. Um, so it won't trickle down until him, it's for him to get into a relationship one day and he becomes the abuser. Um, so that's just some of the things that I'm gonna leave with you today. And if there's anyone that is experiencing domestic violence abuse, because this is just the short term effects of domestic violence abuse. Next week, I'm gonna get into the long term effects of what happens with children that is exposed to domestic violence abuse. But if there's anyone that is experiencing domestic violence abuse, you can contact anyone from my organization, which is Live Dream Survivors Incorporated. We're dedicated to creating a safe space for abused women and children recovering from the effects of domestic violence abuse. And we offer job placement, housing, and counseling to help get women and children back on their feet from getting out of this situation. And you can contact us at 708 I'm sorry, 630-286-9514. Again, the number is 630-286-9514, or you can email me at Live Dream Survivors Incorporated 24@gmail.com. And if you're not comfortable with contacting us, you can also contact the Domestic Violence Abuse Hotline, which is 1-800-799-7233. And I just wanted to leave a scripture, which is Jeremiah 30:17. But I will restore you to health and your wounds, declares the Lord. And thank you for tuning in to the Live Dream Survivor Show. Have a good evening, everyone.
Dear God, in this moment I reach for the light. When the path seems uncertain and hope feels out of sight, guide me through the darkness. Let your love be my guide. In the depths of my struggles, I know you're by my side. When the world fades away, I find myself wandering through memories, tracing the lines of who I used to be. In the quiet night, when the world fades away, I find myself wandering through memories, tracing the lines of who I used to be. A tapestry woven with dreams and scars, each thread a story, each color a part of the journey that shaped me, the battles I fought. In the mirror I see a reflection, a mosaic of moments, a collection of lessons. From laughter to tears, from joy to despair, every heartbeat whispers, you're still standing there. Who I am is a melody, a rhythm of my soul, a symphony of hopes, a tale yet to be told. I'm the echoes.